We all saw them on Thursday night. They looked really bad. The good news is the division has not run away from them. We'll get to the trade possibilities in a minute. But, Jeff, just based on what you've seen, can Brady and this Buccaneers team turn this around completely in the second half and become something that looks like a real contender by the end of the year?
Absolutely can. And to your point, it's because of the division that they're in, right? So you go when you get a home playoff game. But this football team is built right. And when we looked at their roster preseason and thought about once guys got healthy, whether it be Godwin and Julio Jones coming over for the addition, whatever those things look like, they still have that ability. They've played poorly. And here's the deal. 3 days for the Baltimore Ravens after you've just gotten walked before, that was a tough draw for them. The 10 days, I think, will be a huge benefit because you saw so many times against that Ravens defense where Brady and Evans weren't on the same page. A lot of details in there that you don't see Brady miss very often that was missed, whether it was what the route was when they were converting and what the receiver was seeing and he was seeing. I think all of those things over these 10 days get addressed and the fine focus really comes back. Again, this defense has got to carry them. We talked about it all season. They haven't run the ball well, but those are the two most important things, getting back on the same page with the receivers and that defense playing better.
Well, he brings up a good point, Robert. I mean, how do we explain this? This is Brady and Evans. They're not new to each other. That chemistry should be there regardless. And how many times, just that last shot you saw there of the two of them looking at each other like, what did you think I was going to do? I mean, seriously, you've been in that situation. What do you see from the Bucs and from Brady that suggests this could get much better?
Well, what you guys are all saying, everything is out of sync right now for them. But they played as bad as humanly possible and still are going to win their division. They're one game back.
Right.
The Atlanta Falcons.
They beat the Falcons, right?
The Atlanta Falcons are in the lead of the division at 4-4. No one thought that the Falcons would be in the lead right now. Everyone was picking the Bucs and the Saints. But for me, it all starts up front for them. The great Brady teams, the team that won the Super Bowl, had a great running game. They had balance in the passing game with play action. So they're not going to find an offensive lineman here during the trade deadline that's going to really help bolster their front. Maybe they can get my man Jeff Saturday to come out of retirement. But aside from that,
Greeny pays me way too well.
But aside from that, the Bucs are really looking at how do we manufacture a running game. Right now, they're last in the league, 32nd in the league in rushing yards per game. They have playoff Lenny, but he hasn't played that way, and their line hasn't given him those holes. But they have weapons on deck. They got Mike Evans, Godwin. You talk about Julio Jones coming back, Russell Gage. So for the Bucs, I just think it's this 10-day break is exactly what they needed. Brady's working on the things that are going on in his life behind the scenes, and now he has some finality. I think that now they're going to make that push, and their defense is going to have to accept the challenge to carry them until their offense gets on the right page.
Do you hear anything about them in the trade conversations?
Not a ton because, as Robert mentions, it's not like there's a lot of interior offensive linemen that are available at this time of year. I am curious.
Too valuable to just say
That's right. They're too costly, and you can understand why.
Exactly.
I will say, look, the Shaq Barrett injury on defense, it changes things for them. There are a couple of young edge rushers that may be available, right? Bradley Chubb in Denver, Josh Allen in Jacksonville. I do wonder if they get in on some of those conversations in light of that particular injury, which could be major impact one.
Yeah, but we haven't identified that as their primary problem, right? They're getting run on, which is completely uncharacteristic. The book has always been, well, you can't run on Tampa. That's the one thing you can't do. And then the other part has been Brady looking out of sync with his receivers. The other thing that we thought was the last thing in the world that we would see. I can't decide if that's good news or bad news. Maybe it's good news because those are things should be fixable based upon the personnel they have.
Yeah, they're fixable based off the personnel they have, but there's two pieces missing on either side of the ball.
What are they?
Okay, we already know on offense it's Rob Gronkowski not being okay, I don't want to jump in the river, but and the second
well, we'll come back to that. Go ahead.
The second part is Ndamukong Suh. Okay, when you talk about a player who's still out there and is available, they don't have to trade for him. They can go sign him off the street. I know he might not be the cheapest guy, especially now that they've shown that they need him.
Right.
What they need is that presence. They need that leadership. Brady has always been a revered leader during his career. But Gronk brought energy to that offense that they're missing right now, and Ndamukong Suh brought an edge to that defense that they no longer have.
I hadn't thought of that. What do you have about
he's
that?
Sitting there like he's waiting for the right opportunity. It makes some sense. And you talk about, is he expensive? You only have to pay him for half the year now.
There you go.
Right? So I guess I wouldn't rule it out. I mean, my understanding is he still wants to play.
As the conversation goes on today, we'll figure out who we think is going to win that division because, to Jeff's point, whoever it is, even if they're under 500, they're going to host a playoff game, and then you never know what might happen. Carolina with their crazy season, New Orleans with a big win this past week, and obviously Tampa Tom sitting there. All right, as we roll along, after Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.